Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Day in the Life. My name is Rajit Krishna Kumar, and I'm your co-host. And I'm here along with my co-host Priya. Hi, Priya. How are you doing?
Doing well, excited today because we have Kishor with us today, who's a senior scientist at IHPC A-Star, Singapore, and also an investigator at A-Star Q Inc. Additionally, he's a visiting faculty member at TCG Crest in India and an adjunct assistant professor at Singapore University of Technology and Design. He's an editor at Quantum Journal and previously was a postdoc at JQI, Quicks, and NIST 8 Maryland, and has a PhD from CQT at NUS. So, super excited to have you, Kishore. Thank you so much for making time. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm quite good. Thanks, Priya, and thanks, Rajiv, and thanks, Priya, for the this amazing I would say intro. Yeah,
Of course. No, we're super happy to have you. And for the viewers out there, we had a little bit of a goof up last time we tried to do this. So I'm happy we finally made this happen. And thanks, Kishore, for your patience and all through all this. So maybe we can start right with the first question that we often like to ask people is, where are you in your year of research right now, right? Because some people will be, I don't know, bang in the middle of experiments. Others will be writing up. Some people will be grant writing. So what are, in your headspace, like, what are you kind of focused on right now?
yeah. So I'm basically I recently posted some paper, and kind of it's relaxed at the moment, and I think we are thinking taking some time off, and then maybe next week starting on like, I mean how to submit it to some journals, so accordingly take care of the preprint. Yeah.
And is it how does it work for you in that sense? Like, do you kind of so you have this paper, and at the end of it, of course, we all have to like wrap it up, submit it. But do you already start the next work, or are you working on things in parallel already? Like, how does that work when you're
Yeah.
ending up
So
a
so
paper but doing
so
other
so
stuff?
like I mean, I have two questions. Like I mean, and these questions are long term questions, and uh, and that fragments into four sub-disciplines in quantum computing and information. And what happens that like I mean, a paper is basically one leaf. I mean, in that branch,
Mhm.
but then there are like different papers at different stages, and several projects, but many of them are quite related. And sometimes when you finish a paper, you get ideas. So two papers, they have like a baby paper, they are coming together, and then like so it's kind of like I mean I would say all over the place. Yeah.
And I'm curious, now that you've mentioned, can you tell us what your two questions are and what the sub questions are?
Yeah. So the two questions which has motivated me, I would say, for I would say, I don't know, like last 10 years, or 11 years, whatever in my research, like since my masters basically, are so the first question is, uh, how can we develop a reliable quantum computer whose output we can trust? So there is a question of reliability, and there is a question of trust. Like, so that's the first question. And second question is, while we are developing such a computer, or let's say when we develop such a computer, how can we use it for such a quantum computer for practical tasks? So basically these two questions, I mean, there are several words which are a bit loaded here and there. So that fragments into like this four sub disciplines. So let's say when we say reliable quantum computer, uh, the questions like noise come into play, because when you have noise there is no reliability. So that means you have to think of things like quantum error correction, because you have to make it reliable, you have to counter noise, and for that you need to develop better error correction protocols, fault tolerant protocols, and so on. So that's quantum error correction. Second question, I mean, in the first question, the second part is about trust, like reliable quantum computer whose output we can trust. So trust is about verification. So let's say we have somebody claims that they have a quantum computer. Maybe they are bluffing. Like I mean, maybe like none of the companies out there have quantum computer, and they are just simulating it on the classical device, and giving us the output. And for all that we know, all the data that we have so far, we don't have any quantum advantage so far. I mean, though there are claims, but nobody has really a quantum advantage so far. And given that, basically all the experiment that has been done so far, like I mean, in a rigorous setup, they can be done on a classical computer. So how do we know if someone really has a quantum computer? I mean, like, so there is a question of trust. And let's say for the moment that somebody develops such a quantum computer, and they perform a task. And when they perform a task, maybe it's in the regime. I mean, it's highly likely it is in the regime that no classical computer can spoof it. But then if you cannot simulate it, how can you trust it? Maybe like they did something, and they are just faking. Like I mean, they are just trying to bluff with you with the final output. So a verifier who is relatively weak, who has maybe a simple computer, laptop or mobile phone, how can they make sure that like I mean, the output of a computer, the quantum computer, is what they wanted at first place? So these are the two questions. One is about the first part leads to quantum error correction. The second part leads towards uh, quantum device certification, which is about certification, verification, advantage like this. So these are the two sub-disciplines. Second question was about, while we are developing such computer, how can we make use of it for practical aspects? Now, here, uh, we have to understand that, like what do we like I mean, what can we call like a real quantum advantage for something like which is practical? So then you have to think about things like like quantum algorithm design. And when you are doing, like, thinking about so basically it's like near term quantum computing, that's what one can say. So there you have to think about things like quantum algorithm design, or like complexity theory, or this kind of things, like within. So this is like third sub discipline. And the fourth one is within that is kind of tangentially related to this second question, but that's about using these tools for computational quantum cryptography. Because once you are developing these quantum computers, they not only break your crypto system, they can also enable secure crypto system. So there is this notion of pseudo randomness, which is very much used in the classical world using our computers that we are using at the moment. But in the quantum world, like it's totally different ball game. And you have pseudo random states, pseudo random unitaries. So we try to develop similar kind of primitives, like pseudo random density matrix is what we developed recently. And then we are also working on like, I mean, many similar kind of primitives and so on. So to sum it up, these four disciplines are basically sub disciplines are quantum error correction, quantum device certification, near term quantum computing, and quantum computational quantum cryptography. So these are the four sub disciplines which come from like two very simple questions. And yeah, I mean, it's not that rigid. Sometimes you are working on that, but then there is a tool which is totally a maths thing, and you get interested and you work towards that. So there are some offshoots here and there, like so I try to explore things from semi-definite programming, cone optimization, and all that. But that's more like trying to sharpen your tools. Sometimes you like take a detour, learn that, or maybe contribute towards that. But again, I try to come back and solve. Basically, I don't know whether I can solve, but I mean, these two questions I want to like get a good sense of in long term. And that's what I've been working towards. I don't know whether I give
Yeah.
I think, like,
No, absolutely. Very cool. Also, some of my favorite sub areas. So, very interesting. Um, but I was wondering, so this is firmly or mostly in theory, right? These four areas in the work that you do.
yeah, yeah.
How did you know? How did you choose between theory and experiment? At what point did you know that you were not going to be an experimentalist?
Yeah, I mean, it's so. Yeah, I think, yeah. Okay, maybe I can tell you. It's a it's a very sad story. So
Oh,
so
no.
I was in Germany, and I was not sure whether I had to do experiment or theory. So there is a laser. It's called external cavity diode laser, and I had gone there for an internship to build it. Like at so there is a fellowship called DARD fellowship, and under that, like I was in Germany at University of Ulm, very talented professor, and he was, and he has a very nice team, and I was building the laser, but maybe I built one laser and I destroyed maybe like 15 or 20. And but yeah, I mean, and also it was like very difficult. Like normally when we think about like a laser, so I thought it's very, you want to get a particular frequency, you generally make a standing wave, like set the right length, and it will be created. But when I turn on the laser, it start going in all directions. I thought it will go back, I will put a mirror, it will come back, and you will get the standing wave. But it was a lot of work, like I mean, to set it up, to collimate it, to like put it through like wave meter and all that. Like, and it was very, very, very difficult. Like I mean, like I saw some of the PhD students and postdoc working meticulously, and I was like, I really got terrified, like the amount of effort like they were putting into, and so on. So I will often like sit down and try to analyze things more than like work on it. Also, like you have to be very, very cautious, like you have to put those goggles and not enter into certain rooms and so on. And so I try to, like after 10 days or something, I kind of got adjusted to that, and I tried my best, uh, and I kind of got some working model. But then I went to like in Alps to some place called Zugspitze, like with some like colleagues, for hiking or something, and yeah, like there was some sightseeing. And when I came back, somebody had maybe moved some stuff from like on the table, and then I had to like again do a lot of hard work like that day. Anyway, like what will normally take someone, let's say maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, took me like double the time, like 8 weeks. And the lasers that I destroyed were because like I was, often I will forget to wear some like grounding wire, like you have to ground yourself, like so I will just go and start working, and then the laser is like boom, it's gone. So so then I will order for a new laser, and then like, anyway, so after everything, like I was confused. So the professor asked me to work on it, and then later he asked me, like, so have you decided you want to work on theory or experiments? And I said theory, and he said good.
I mean, but this is a common trajectory, I think, for a lot of people. So, in myself, in my PhD, which was experimental, I've had several kind of instances. Maybe one example was in my first year, we were trying to understand why the quality of the beam was not as good. And so, at one point, everything was aligned, and the fiber that went into the cavity that we were working on was, like well into a fiber like output that was very well aligned. So I said, great, I could just remove the fiber from the fiber output, check if it's dirty, right? Because that could be one of the reasons why the laser's not working, and put it back in. So I did that. I didn't touch anything else, and then suddenly everything stopped working. And then when the postdoc came into the lab, he was like, oh, like I told him, look, things have stopped working. What did you do? I told him a few things, and I included this, and he said, oh no, like that fiber is so sensitive that even if you take it out and put it back exactly into the pre-aligned like fiber output, like it's gonna be misaligned. So now, just because of that, it put us back, like I think it took like 2 weeks to set everything back to how it was, just because like I looked at a fiber and put it back. And these are things you just learn right on the job. So I think it's a very like normal trajectory for almost all experimentalists to just struggle so much with very what seems like basic things, but then it's just like I feel like there's
Yeah.
no other way to learn, right?
Yeah, also it's like a lot of hard work. Like I realized I am a lazy person, so like I can sit down on a chair, like just watch some videos and then work, then again like get tired, so like drink tea, then like I mean, like theory kind of gives you, I feel, yeah, I mean, it's easier than experiments. I mean, experiments, I think that's a lot of work. Yeah, so I decided the easy path. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't disagree. Yeah, as a former experimentalist, but I think people have their own ways, and it's nice that some people are willing to put in the hard work to do the experiments. Um, but actually, so then I wanted to ask you a question on the kind of roles that you've had over the few years. And specifically, at the beginning, you're a student, right, in your master's and so on. And then you move to being more of like an independent researcher. And now I'm assuming you're more of like a supervisory role, right? Where you don't always have to do everything, but you kind of have a team of people. So I know that can be a difficult transition to many, I mean, including myself. I'm still trying to figure that out. So how was that like for you over the years?
Yeah, so I would say uh, it kind of remains smooth for me. Like, I mean, still, I would say, even after joining A Star, like the way it has been that I, like the way I see more of these things, like at least in theory, it's like so there are certain tools that I use, like so there's an overleaf. I mean, which I think theorists use, like for writing papers, and then I use Discord, which is like there are different channels like Discord and Slack where one can discuss, and then like Teams and yeah, Zoom for discussion. And in post COVID, almost everyone got like some writing pad on which they write and share. So because of that, what happened that I graduated in 2021, but since 2020, like collaborators and so on, they will like sit together on near some computer, and they will calculate, discuss, and so on. So I kind of like develop some, I would say, a mechanism through which all the collaborators, they are always in touch. And let's say if there is a new student or a person who is not even a student, let's say formally but informally, who is interested to collaborate and let's say get interested and show some promise, they also sometimes like join that Discord channel, like and certain projects and so on. And the what changed was that earlier, maybe like I will be mostly uh, working, I would say, every details myself, all of the details myself. So me and some of my collaborators, we will work on everything. uh, but then over time, maybe it shifted more towards reading many things. So like now, most of my time goes into, I would say, reading books, like different kind of books, uh, in CS, maths, physics, and so on. And often trying to come up with ideas, like getting a bigger picture and coming up with ideas. So once there are ideas, maybe like I will write, I don't know, like something very basic and share with students, like and if they are interested, or a set of students, and if someone is interested, then like someone gets interested and they start pushing it. And then every week, like we will meet and discuss and so on. And sometimes what will happen that the student gets far ahead to the point that like I mean when they come and tell me, it is like it really becomes difficult for me to verify. So then you have to redo the calculation and make sure that like everything that they are saying is correct. Yeah. And with some of the students, it really happens, like they are so talented that basically they outsmart you. And I mean that's very, I would say fulfilling thing. So then you read more and you try to, so it's kind of, I would say, so there are some students who like who kind of became a copy of mine, like in different topics that I am working on. And that is very fulfilling because they became independent and so on. And some of them are like maybe not going for postdocs and and like I mean PhD and so on. But it's always exciting to write their first paper in a topic, like, or let's say I mean overall with them, like like to like really nurture them from basics, and then to the point that like they overtake you, like I mean. And uh, I feel it has become more I would fulfilling. The sad thing is that there's some bureaucracy that has also, like earlier maybe I will spend like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes a week on bureaucracy. Now I have, like, I don't know, at least 1 hour of bureaucracy every day. So I'm
Oh,
trying to cut down on that. Like I want to like really spend all my time reading books and working on things and so on. Thankfully, large language models are really helping me a lot with like help with the
Hmm.
bureaucratic part. But yeah, I mean, I would say except the bureaucracy, everything else, like I really enjoy. Like I mean, it's I think it's the best job. Like, I mean, at least, like, I mean, from
Mm-hmm.
my perspective. Yeah, yeah.
That's really nice. Actually, it reminds me as well. There's a professor at Stanford who, when he was one of his students, I think I don't know if it was his first student or one of his early students, was defending. He sort of stood up and gave the introduction, and then he said, he said, when I was a PhD student, I used to think that the way it worked is you would join a PhD program, and then when you learned enough, then you would be ready to graduate. But now, as a professor, I know the way it works is that as a professor, you let the PhD student join, and when they teach you enough, then you let them graduate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I thought that was a nice way to look at
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, like, I would say I was really privileged to have some of the students, like, I mean, I was not there. I have not been their formal supervisor, so I would say I can call it a team and all, but I have a very small team of, like, formally I have guided maybe like 4 or 5 people, but the informal number is very large, like 15, 20 something. So most of the students, like, let's say I'm in some conference and somebody gets interested, and then we start working on that. And many of the students, like, they leave, let's say, the institution, and they go somewhere else, but they are still interested, like, I mean, because of, i mean because of various reasons, and also, like, because of teams and Discord and so on, they can collaborate. So it's more of, I'm developing, it's kind of a village that is growing, and I'm kind of liking it, like, I mean, because everything is kind of very organic, like, I mean, and it's very horizontal, like, in the sense that,
Hmm.
uh, uh, like, I mean, uh, I mean, my philosophy has been always that some people should be driven by motivation and not anxiety. So I try to never have, I would say, I mean, like, during my PhD also and so on. I mean, and postdoc years, and still also, I try to make sure that, it's motivation that is the driving factor, and and yeah, I mean, the motivated students, they remain connected, I would say, for longer time than the students who were pushed, I would say. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
When you speak of this village that you're well, not developing, but is organically developing around you and your research and your mentoring, I'm curious to know what role your mentors had, or if you had a particular mentor that was particularly impactful in your journey.
yeah. I mean, I would say that, um, there are several mentors. I mean, like, I would say, when I talk about mentors, I mean, definitely there are PhD, like, my PhD supervisors like Blapko and Quek, and my postdoc supervisor Alexei Gorshkov, and during postdoc, like, informally, my postdoc supervisor Andrew Childs and Gorian and so on. So obviously they had a big role to play, but at the same time, I would say, when I think about mentors, like, sometimes my colleagues, like, they were a very good mentor, like, the PhD students who were together with me, and sometimes, they will teach me things. So I started with physics, and over time I moved more towards CS, and then mathematics, and now I'm, like, kind of, like, trying to find my place at the interface of physics, mathematics, and computer science. So for example, someone from optimization theory, like Antonius Varvitsiotis, I mean, so he taught me a lots of optimization theory. Like, he was not formally my supervisor, but he taught me a lot of those things. Similarly, I would say Patrick Reventros, like, I mean, he taught me a lot of, like, ML stuff and so on. I mean, like, not formal supervisor, but still I learned a lot from him. Then I would say, yeah, I mean, the list is actually quite big. Like, there is a, I mean, I have a friend called Atul Singh Arora, who is a triple IT Hyderabad. I mean, super talented guy, and he taught me several things. Like, I mean, we actually, during our PhD, spent our weekends, like, chatting over Zoom, and before that on Google Hangouts, and trying to go through things like general theory of relativity, or Landau's physics book, or for that matter, like, cryptography. Like, there is a Cat Gen Linder, like, 600 thing, like, I mean, page thing, like, page by page, and arguing, understanding, and so on. And many people, like, Naresh was there, Maharshi. I mean, the list is huge. I mean, So also, like I would say, like my students, like I mean, Andrew Tangara, he's like, I mean, informally my student. I mean, he's not formally, but he has taught me a lot. So I would say sometimes some of my mentors have been my students also. Like, they mentored me a lot. Like, I mean, Tobias Hogg, my collaborator, like, I mean, on many of my papers, like he taught me several things about optinumerics and so on. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like almost all of my co-authors taught me many things, and there are people, like I mean, with whom I haven't written any paper, but I mean they have taught me things like Kavan Modi, who is at SUTD here. Like I mean, we haven't written anything, but I mean we had several interesting discussions and so on. I mean, yeah, so I can't single out one name. I mean, yeah, but
But it's
it's a long
also
list.
very beautiful and inspiring, just your approach to this, which is just your openness to learning from anybody that's that you're working with, or that formally or informally you are mentoring. That's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
I think
yeah. I mean, it's the nature of our field, right? I mean, when you work in interdisciplinary field, there are so many facets that the people, like I mean, like even every newcomer has a chance to learn something and teach, like so. I think I would say it's largely beauty of our field, like quantum
Hmm.
information and computation. It's like so
True.
interdisciplinary. Yeah, yeah.
and of the like works that you've done with these people, whether you were mentoring them formally or had informal collaborations, I'm they're all very interesting questions that you ask. But was there one project in the recent years, or even from back in the day, that was especially exciting, or that you remember to be like giving you a feeling of like additional excitement, that you can talk about, and why that was the case?
Okay. I sorry, what was the last name? That giving additional what?
Excitement, like that you were
Excitement.
particularly like gave you that
Okay.
excitement or that inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like I'm always excited by the most recent paper that I have written. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so for example, recently, right? I mean, we wrote a paper on. So there is this thing called cat codes. Like cat codes are very famous. I mean, in the bosonic world, and then cat codes were generalized to something called quantum spherical codes. So there was a paper by Victor Albert, Shuhab Jan, and others like from University of Maryland, and they generalized like cat codes to this more general code. And we asked, like, is that it, or you can think about a more general family, and like powerful mathematics on which you can base cat codes and these spherical codes and so on. And we actually uh, recently we put a paper out where we use something called QHR formula, which is a kind of a generalization of designs, like which are very famous in quantum information. And you can think of them as like weighted designs. And using that, we develop a family, like a formalism, which captures like this spherical codes, and cat codes is a special case. So you can think of cat codes as more like a city, and the spherical codes is more as a country. And then this we have this QHR formalism, which is more like a continent. And we developed many codes and so on, and we could show that like you outperform these cat codes and quantum spherical codes and so on. And lots of nice mathematics and practical things were there. So I was, I would say, I have been very excited by that. Also, like nowadays I'm very much excited by quantum error correction. Like I spend a lot of my time. I would say 70% of my time nowadays goes into thinking about quantum error correction, like how to really bring down the cost, how to understand the formalism, like better and so on. Yeah, yeah.
And this focus on quantum error correction, you did just previously say that you're motivated by the question of making quantum computers more reliable. But then
Yes.
how did this start? How did you formally start with quantum error correction? Was it during your master's or during the PhD?
Yeah, so I think it started, everything started like kind of quite organically, like I mean, so in the sense that I was trying to write a lot of papers on near term quantum algorithms, like in the
Mhm.
past. And then the noise basically has been a big problem. So people were very much, it's like 2018, 19, 2020, people were very excited about like near term quantum computing, and they thought that like maybe these variational quantum algorithms, or like so we developed something called post variational quantum algorithms and so on. They can give you possibly like some quantum advantage. And there was this Google experiment in 2019, and like people were like, wow, I mean, maybe something is coming. uh, so but then nothing came. Yeah. And basically the the biggest hurdle basically was noise. Like in the presence of noise, what you get is almost like white noise at the end of the day. And your signal, like it's difficult to get that signal, so you have to preserve the signal. So people started doing this thing called quantum error mitigation, but then it has its own overhead. I mean, though you cannot completely rule out quantum error mitigation, but there is an exponential sampling cost associated with quantum error mitigation. So like I mean, I was also kind of like, I would say, not happy, like because quantum advantage is something that like I have been thinking of how to get there, for which problems we can get there, like some practical utility of quantum computer, like we always wanted to get, and so on. So there has been these questions, like there is surface code, but like it has a large overhead, and like you need too many physical qubit, and so then you need to cut down the cost. Maybe you need not have a static code, some kind of a dynamical nature you have to bring in there. So there is a lot of room. So I saw that I mean, maybe we need to think about some nice family of codes. So it kind of started when I was in Maryland, and there were some really good researchers in quantum error correction working in Maryland there. And I mean, earlier I was there and I was always thinking of, but the push came when I was, like I mean, for a very small stint at Maryland, like I mean, I came in contact with them, and then over time, I would say initially it was like 10% of my time, 15% of my time, but then now it's like 70% of my time, I would say, I just spend on quantum error correction. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And
Um, yeah, go on.
no, I was gonna say, so we've talked a lot about work, and I'm happy to shift it a little bit if that's okay, and ask you, when you're not working, what do you do, and how do you? I mean, this is a typical question, but how do you balance your personal and professional life, and
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you have
yeah.
any recommendation for others on that
Yeah.
aspect?
So I would say something drastically changed in my life in 2020, 2023 December, when my daughter was born. And I would say last 2 years, kind of, I let's say when I'm not working, or even when I'm working, sometimes I have to stop the work when my toddler is around. And so like I mean, I try to like maximize my time with her. And because of this theory nature of work, like I can work from home, and then I
Mm.
can spend some time with her, then work and spend some time with her. And so that's what I do. Also, I have two pet turtles, like so I spend some time with those turtles, and some fish. So like I have an aquarium, so like I try to put some like fish and all that. So that's the thing. Other than that, pretty much I would say, I just sometimes I just do mindless. I mean, not much, but once in a while, like I will open YouTube and watch some stand-up comedy or something.
Oh, nice. Any comedians in particular that you're watching nowadays?
They are controversial, so I wouldn't like to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll chat after the podcast. I also watch a lot of stand-up comedy, which is why I
Yeah.
asked. But very cool. Thanks for
Yeah.
that.
So, and we're almost at the end of 2025. So, what are you looking
Yeah.
forward to for 2026? Like, do you have a top three things you're looking forward to achieve or do or experience?
Yeah. So one thing is definitely in January. Like I mean, I'm thinking of taking my daughter and wife to Switzerland, and maybe like like spend some, like I don't know if there will be snow then. I mean, if there is snow, it will be nice. Like
There might be. Yeah, if you're lucky, we'll
yeah,
get some
yeah,
snow.
yeah,
Anyway, in the
yeah.
mountains there definitely will be snow. So.
Yeah. So that's something, like in January. Then in February, my PhD supervisor, he's turning 65, so there is a conference to honor him.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I'm very much like looking forward to that. uh, Other than that, I think I would say quantum computing, like is definitely, like in work wise, like very exciting thing. So uh, I would say I'm trying to work more on this quantum curvature code paper that we wrote recently, like trying to extend that further. And then there is some computational cryptography paper, like that we wrote. I mean, I have some research problems that I want to you know like focus more on. And what else, like 126, yeah, spend I would say more time with my daughter. And and I think it's like I haven't really thought of, like this 2025 is ending and 26 is like, it just happens, uh I have not ever been excited by, like year ending and a year starting. No,
Hmm.
but maybe I think, yeah, I think I should maybe take some resolutions or something, but I haven't done that ever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See, so
Well,
you're
I
not the
mean,
kind that usually does New Year resolutions or.
Yeah, like I mean, I never uh I mean, it's me, like I mean, I would say I get excited, like when let's say some project finishes, of course, that's like,
Mhm.
a milestone. And then, or let's say, when my daughter is going to turn like 2, so like that is
Mhm.
something, yeah, I'm not someone who's excited by my own birthday also or something, like, yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, so nothing, yeah, like nothing in
Mhm.
particular about 2026, I would say, yeah.
yeah, I mean, as a theorist, right, you just say the New Year's an arbitrary spot, so
Yeah,
it doesn't make
yeah,
sense. But yeah, I can understand
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So maybe, in terms of speaking of, you ended with a little bit of the work that you're interested for 2026, but, apart from the technical aspects of that work, what else excites you about, you know, the work that you
yeah.
do or the work that you'll be
Oh,
doing?
so the other thing is basically, like I'm very much interested in community development and outreach. So I try to do this thing called Asia Pacific Quantum Error Correction seminars, and recently I mean, we finished. So it's like 18 tutorial session, and we finished 16 of them. Two of them will be completed very soon. And I kind of like, like I would say, mm, like I say, right, I mean, one of the my I mean, sometime I mentioned that there are two kinds of noise, like that we suffer from. There's noise in the quantum hardware, but there's also noise in the quantum community, like there's a lot of hype and noise and all that.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like, like the people who are, let's say, working, it's their responsibility to, I would say, do some outreach. And because sometimes people are not talking because they want to hype, but because, like when they have not been trained, and they saw the shiny part of it, and they got excited. So I mean, I would say a large part, basically, they like, I mean, the noise is there is not, like malicious noise, but it's just a noise coming because of the, I would say, hope, you know so I would say, yeah, I kind of, like think of it more of as a, like responsibility. Like I mean, if I can say in long term, like if I can come, I don't know, maybe even 10 5% of contributions. Let's say someone like Professor Narlikar. So Professor Narlikar, like when he was at Ayuka, and
Mhm.
he contributed a lot to, like outreach and
Mhm.
so on, and community development. So I mean, yeah, but that's in cosmology. I'm thinking in quantum computing, let's say, globally. But I mean, I'm sometimes I try to focus more on India side and so on. And but let's say if that can be done, like I mean, definitely. I mean, it's more of a fulfilling thing,
Mhm.
like than anything
Yeah,
what
and
we do.
important, I think, in
Yeah,
today's world, like you said.
yeah,
Yeah, and I will say, if and whoever is listening, you should check out. I think Kishore, you also have them on YouTube.
yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
seminar
They are
series.
recorded.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's a great. I remember I was part of the first few lectures you had maybe a year ago, one of the earlier ones that you did, and I think that's a great introduction even to error correction from a broad perspective. So you should totally check that out.
Yeah, we'll
We
put
will
the
link
link
it
in
in
the
the
description
yeah,
below.
yeah. We'll link it in the description. Yep. And I know you couldn't give us stand-up comedy recommendations, but Kishore, I'm wondering if you have book, movie, music recommendations, general stuff. So no, it's always fun for me to look at what people are reading or listening to.
Yeah, so book wise, like which book I can, I mean, so they're very cliche, like Sapiens and so on, like, I mean, which I
Mm-hmm.
think almost everyone reads. Other than that, I read politics books, but I think maybe again that will reveal my bias. Uh,
So no, okay, that's
yeah,
after we finish
yeah,
recording.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so I read a lot of politics books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean mostly about uh, like what does it mean to be a civilian, and like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what is a citizenship, like, this kind of thing. uh, like, or why, like, why a particular kind of politics is in, like, in power and so on, like,
Mm-hmm.
so every time, like, I mean, let's say I'm at some airport and there are some nice books and so on, I try to, like, I also try
Mm-hmm.
to read about, like, finance. So there's a very nice book called The Intelligent Investor, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say, so finance is something that I realized quite late, but personal financing I feel is very important. Like, I mean, people, like, sometimes think that, I mean, definitely one should invest in themselves, and and that's good, like, that rewards you. But I feel that sometimes, like, instead of I mean, you should work, but you should also let your money work for you. And and uh, and I realized it's quite late, and I spend a lot of time, I would say, on YouTube also, or like, reading about, trying to understand, and like uh, how the financial, like, the assets and so on moving, and what's affecting what. And I think scientists don't put much effort in, on the finance side, but I would say, uh, maybe we should more, like, I mean, many of my friends, they think that, like, investment and all that is not a good thing. But I feel that if you let your money just sit in the bank, the inflation is eating it, and that's a very bad thing, like, to just let your money sit, like, like, put it properly at places, like, I mean, I cannot give a financial advice, like, but but yeah, I try to make sure that, you know mm, reach a point where, you are, I mean, your work obligations are totally coming from your interest, and there's no monetary aspect which is driving you, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
honestly,
that's a
yeah,
good.
we could talk about this a lot because I also strongly feel like the number one thing that should be taught in schools that isn't taught either very much or not at all is personal finance. I think,
Mm-hmm.
to understand like how to handle your money, right? Let's put it that way. But in before risking going down to dive into like a finance podcast, maybe we could switch over and play, slice it up or spice it up. So this is a game that's inspired by a hip hop podcast called Drink Champs, where Kishore, I will ask you to choose between two options, and you can choose one or the other, or you can choose both or neither. But if you choose both or neither, then all of us have to take a bite of something spicy. So you're not incentivized to choose it. The way you choose, how you differentiate between them, that's up to you. It's totally subjective, and you could also, think out loud if you feel like it. But to start us off, I'll share what I have today as my spicy food. So it's Mrs. Renfro's habanero salsa. It's a nice salsa from Texas, and it's actually pretty spicy. So that's what I got. What you got, Priya?
I don't. Today is the worst because I have hot sauce, but then I just have a spoon. I don't have anything to put it in. So I really can't cheat
Ah,
today. God damn it. Kishore, what do you have?
So I have like two packets of kurkure, and this chili chatka kurkure. So I think it counts as spicy, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think we're all set to go. So without further ado, let's get to the first question. It's between Shore or Grover.
Sure.
Very quick. Was there a specific reason, or you don't have to
Yeah,
say?
first of all, sure is like it's end to end, and there is no black box in the middle, and like you don't need oracles or anything. And sure is something. Searching is good, but I would say what got uh, I would say funding to our field is sure, because like, yeah, like factoring is a big thing, and yeah, a lot of advantages that we see in quantum. Many times you can trace it back to somewhere they're using sure. Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, my next topic, or my next two choices are bell test experiments or the double slit experiment.
Bell test.
That's it.
That doesn't surprise me so much. I feel like a lot of people in more the quantum algorithms, quantum info side, they really appreciate the bell test experiments. So that makes sense. Um, the next one is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle or the no clone theorem.
Uh, let's say Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Yeah.
Okay, that
And
took a while to decide. How come?
yeah, and what was your thinking?
Yeah. So basically, uh, um, that's a very difficult choice, But it's my first of all my personal bias is coming. So in the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, or let's say in any of its generalizations, the reason that you have uncertainty is because you have two operators that don't commute, and and that basically is a very fundamental departure from classical theory to quantum theory. So let's say if you have operators that commute, let's say everything is classical, let's say everything is in a diagonal, in that, like everything commutes. So if everything commutes, then the theory that you get is a classical theory, and automatically you will be able to like copy.
Oh, I
I
really like
see.
that. Yeah. Oh, that's
So one is based or a subset like based on the other one.
At
That's an
least
interesting way to look at it.
can vaguely imply like that I have to I
Yeah,
have to see it. Yeah, yeah.
or
More
one is at
rigorously.
least necessary for the other. Interesting. Okay, the next one is C.V. Raman or Satyendranath Bose.
Okay. Okay. SN Bose.
Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
there
Okay.
you go. Yeah, that's been a pretty common answer, I think.
Yeah. We have to update
Going
our
forward.
questions.
Yeah, but it's not always
Yeah,
the case
yeah,
nowadays.
no, it's yeah.
So this next question I'm excited for because it may be, and I'm not sure, maybe the first time we get a neither choice. But I'm gonna ask surface codes or LDPC codes.
Actually, I
LDPC
think
code.
Kishore will have an answer.
LDPC codes, because surface codes are a special case of LDPC codes.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay, the next one I have is post quantum cryptography or quantum key distribution.
Post quantum cryptography.
Okay, how come?
Okay,
I
this
mean,
will make
yours at
me
least.
famous, but maybe both are okay. But I feel like there are some implementation issues. Okay, maybe like the some people will get unhappy, but yeah, quantum key distribution has some implementation issues,
Sure,
uh,
that's a
and
fact.
and post quantum cryptography, I would say even NIST is kind of recommending for that post quantum cryptography. And for a long time we have believed in complexity based security. So let's say factoring. People can say they don't believe in they, but all of our money is in bank. So if you are trusting complex, I mean, you're putting their money because, like, in the back of your head you have some trust for, uh, the security systems that are in place. And post quantum crypto basically just upgrades it beyond quantum. So quantum key distribution uh, is nice, but that's more like, just key distribution, right? On the other hand, post quantum cryptography, we have things like LWE, using which you can do things like quantum verification, like in Mahadev's protocol and
Hmm.
so on. So it's quite a rich, like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
also for, like, I think, in the classical side, like, because of this learning with these lattice protocols, lattice based systems, we have fully homomorphic encryption,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, which is a nice thing. So I would say I'm more biased towards that, but I mean, it's a very tough choice. And quantum key distribution, I mean, yeah, like that's very surprising. And it's interesting that, you can even do that. But given a choice, I will go for post quantum. Like if somebody asks me, like, I mean, how do you want to secure your money? Like, I will say
Hmm.
QC. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. So the next one is NISC or fault tolerant?
Fault tolerant.
Fault tolerant. Yeah, I think we were talking about this earlier in the
Yeah.
podcast, right? So that makes total sense. And I think Priya, you have the last question to ask.
I think you've done great, Kishore. So I really hope you will also like have a conclusive answer to this one.
I really
But
hope
as a
not.
theorist and as somebody working towards fault-tolerant quantum computers, what kind of qubit are you betting your money on?
Oh God. Okay. uh, yeah, like, I mean, I would say, mm, more of this, these reconfigurable atom arrays.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they are very promising. Uh, so at the moment, I would say I'm quite tempted by that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, atoms.
yeah, yeah,
Great, love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Not a single bit of hot sauce. This is a first, and I'm so happy. Today's a great
Oh,
day.
well, that's okay. It'll be for next time. The answers were great, so I'm not too mad
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Kishore, before we let you go, um, I don't know, do you have some general advice for people listening, people who are interested in quantum, who are students already working on quantum or in adjacent fields or professionals, whoever is listening?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, like, I mean, it's more of I feel that if you're working in quantum computing information, I mean, and then, I mean, I would say, I mean, I would say it's a wonderful field. And I mean, and we need more and more people, like, who are motivated and curious. And I would say you will struggle at times because the field is very interdisciplinary. So you will feel stupid many times, like, you because field suddenly, like, takes turns, like, it's talking about, like, some practical things, and then there are things about algorithm, but then complexity theory, then this and that, and optimization. And there are so many things that it can feel very overwhelming. And and many people who are working for many, like, a long time, they can feel very overwhelmed by, like, the interdisciplinary nature of the field. But I think, like, I mean, that should not be discouraging. I mean, it's more of an opportunity to learn. And uh, and uh, I would say, I mean, all of us feel stupid almost every day. And so yeah, if you are sitting in a room, where, let's say, you are thinking that maybe I don't know this and that concepts, almost all of us have felt that. But then, I mean, it's good to find a book, a mentor, or whatever, like a blog, that can teach you that concept, and one concept at a time. I think, maybe I have realized that, I mean, okay, I'm not someone to, because I'm not, like, I mean, like, there is a long path, and there is a, I mean, you have to, like, I'm more and more in the progress towards where I want to go. But I feel that, grit is something which is very important, because when when we are working, like let's say in such an interdisciplinary field, many times the projects can fail. Many times, like, I mean, you can get discouraged. I mean, you can get scooped, and so you will fail down, but you have to stand up, try again, and then again some setbacks will come. So setbacks can keep coming, and it's because it's very interdisciplinary, and there's a lot of competition, and there's, but at the same time, that's what makes it, exciting. So, like, I mean, just maintain your grit and curiosity, and keep learning. Yeah.
That's really nice. That's reassuring too. Yep.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for those inspiring words. So on that note, we'll end the podcast here. So thank you so much, Kishore, for your time. We will link, as mentioned, the QEC tutorials that Kishore has taught below. The music you're hearing now is from Himanshu Katara. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.